Hey guys, my name's Exton, and this week we're going to be talking about episode 4 from season 3 of My Hero Academia. How amazing was that? How insane was that? After watching season 1, I didn't think anything was going to top All Might versus Nomu, but oh my god. I must have sat there for at least 3 hours just repeat, repeat, repeat. It was absolutely amazing. I can't put into words how phenomenal that episode was. I watched the episode and immediately went and watched it dubbed. Just so I was like, I need to, because I watched the All Might versus Nomu fight, and anyone that knows me knows that I have to watch anime subbed. I feel like Japanese voice actors are just so superior. They get emotions across so much better. But with the All Might Nomu fight, the voice acting with everything in general, with the English version, the dub version of My Hero Academia has been amazing. So I went and watched that. We have to take our hats off to the voice actors for this, because that is phenomenal. The voice acting from My Hero Academia is something else. It's really restored my faith in dub versions of anime. Let's get right into it. So when the episode starts, we get Kota having a bit of a flashback, talking to Mandalay, explaining about, his parents' death, and her saying that one day you will realise that heroes are good people. Someone will come around and make you realise why your parents did what they did. Then it cuts to the present, and Kota realises that the forest's burning. Something's not right, something's gone wrong. And as he gets up and he's looking out on the forest, you see that cloaked figure behind him sort of moving a bit into view. Then it does like a 5 minutes earlier type thing, and Aizawa's walking back to base camp with the extra lesson pupils, explaining that they don't have extra lessons, he's just going to get further and further behind. So really it's like a treat, because he's going to be, helping them further their education stuff. And there's a bit of a joke about some sweets, because sweets are treats. Having read the manga, I knew what was coming. So this bit, I was just like, hurry up, come on, I want to see what's going to happen. They walk into the classroom, and Monomo's there from Class B, and he's doing his usual thing of taking the mick out of 1A from having so many people in the extra lessons, and how they're supposed to be superior to 1B, but obviously they aren't. At that point, Mandalay's telepath kicks in, and a couple of people, I think it's, who is it? Kaminari, that's what his name is. Kaminari says that, he likes, it tingles, he likes this sensation, and straight away Aizawa's like, shh, be quiet. So Mandalay's voice tells them that they've been attacked by 2 villains, and all pupils are to go back to base camp. Not fight, go straight back to base camp. Mandalay's telepath is one way, so people can't respond. Straight away Aizawa's like, Vlad, you look after the pupils here, I'm going helping the pupils that are out in the forest. So he runs out the classroom, runs out the building, and as he gets out the building he sees all the smoke, and he says something along the lines of, this is bad. But because he was so focused on helping the pupils, he didn't see the villain that was immediately to his left. And the villain that was to his left was Dabi. Now, Dabi's the leader of this vanguard that's come to attack the pupils. And Dabi just blasts Aizawa with a huge big blast of this blue flame that he has as his quirk. At that point, it sort of cuts back to the main group with Pixie Bob and Midoriya and Ida. And one of the villains, called Spinner, who looks like a lizard, he introduces himself and the rest of them as the Vanguard Action Squad from the League of Villains. And the other guy that's with him, the guy that has the long hair, Magni, he starts joking about whether he should crush Pixie Bob's head, because remember, he's got sort of on the floor underneath this thing that he's got wrapped in bandages. Tiger really didn't like that and says, as if I'd let you harm her. And at that point, he looks like he's about to jump at the villains, and Spinner says, well, hang on. It falls within Stain's tenets. Almost as if he's some sort of Stain fanatic. At that point, Ida's like, oh, so you're the type of people that Stain's ideals brought about, eh? And Spinner's like, oh, you're the student, you're the child that brought about Stain's end at Hosu City, right? I'm Spinner. At that point, Tiger interrupts and he says, I don't care about Stain, I don't care about you. Pixie Bob's been worrying about who she's going to marry. She's at that age in her life. She's been worrying about a life as a normal woman, not as a hero. I will not let you harm Pixie Bob. You will not do anything to her face. At that point, Spinner's like, why is a hero worrying about living a normal life anyway? Mandalay turns to the students and says, you need to go back to base camp. Leave this to us. Get back to base camp. Class rep, Ida, you're in charge. Get everybody back. So Ida turns and immediately says, yeah, we'll go back. So he's learned from his lessons from season 2, from his fight with Stain. He's learned, and Midoriya doesn't move. So Ida's like, what you doing? And Midoriya says, well, I'll, go ahead. I'll meet you there. And he turns to Mandalay and says, I know where he is. Now, we know that he means Kota, because Mandalay was worried about Kota. Then it cuts to in the forest, and you see the group from Class 1B with Kendo, the girl that can use Big Hand. She bumps into Tetsu and the girl that uses the vines. What's her name again? Shiozaki? I think it's Shiozaki. Anyway, Tetsu is carrying the girl who can use vines, and he explains that when everything kicked off, when everything went south, he bumped into Yaoyorozu from Class 1A, who can make things using the lipids in a body. So she made everybody like a bunch of gas masks. So Tetsu's wearing a gas mask, so's the girl he's carrying, and he's got a bunch around his waist. So he says, take one of the gas masks, we've got plenty. And Kendo's like, right, let's go back to base camp. And he's like, no, I want a fight. And Kendo's like, no, we got told we've got to go back. And he said, no, I'm going to fight. You must have felt it yourself. You're always, shouting at Monomo. You're always shouting at Monomo for taking the mick out of Class 1A because, they're supposed to be inferior and they're not. But you know yourself that they are. And the difference between us and them is the fact that they've used their moments of crisis as opportunity. And that's really what we're missing. So I'm going to fight. At this point, it cuts back to Kota and you can hear Mandalay trying to reach Kota with her telepath, and she's saying that she's sorry, she doesn't know where he is, but something's gone wrong. Kota's not really listening. He's backing off from the villain who's wearing at this point the mask and the cloak, and he's walking towards him, and the villain's like, well, I was just looking for somewhere with a nice view, but I've ended up running into a face that's not on our list. And he's walking towards Kota and he's like, that's a really nice hat you've got. Swap me for this mask. They've told me I've got to wear this stupid mask because they didn't have enough time to get me something properly. Kota screams and turns to run away, and as he's running, you sort of see the bottom of the villain's pants and his shoes bulge a little bit, and he jumps right past Kota, lands sort of on a cliff face. He's super quick, just cuts off it where he was going to run to, and he's like, hey kid, don't run away, let's have some fun. At that point, Kota recognises this villain, and he's sort of having flashbacks to a news report that he was listening to, and Kota's listening and watching this news report, and the news report is saying that the hero that attacked his parents lost his left eye. It was probably the only wound that they managed to get in, but he's a very, very dangerous person. And they flashed this picture up, and just as the villain's gonna hit Kota, Midoriya appears out of nowhere and grabs Kota and jumps out the way. I think this is a really interesting moment because everything that happened in Season 2, the only reason they were able to take down Stain is because there was 3 of them. And the only reason Midoriya managed to get reinforcements is because he had his cell phone. So when he rescues Kota, his cell phone breaks. So it's the artist, the author was really, really reinforcing the fact that, Midoriya is getting no help this time. He's on his own. So Midoriya is sort of crouched on the ground and he's going through everything. His head overthinking everything. How am I going to fight this guy off and save Kota at the same time? And, I need to think about this and that. And he's completely overthinking everything. And it's at this point that Midoriya is like, I need to stop thinking about everything. And he stands up and he smiles and he says to Kota, you have nothing to worry about. I'm definitely going to save you. Then it cuts to Todoroki and Bakugo who are walking through the woods. They've gone past the halfway point, obviously picked up their name tags, and Todoroki's carrying someone over his shoulders. I think it's someone from Class 1B. And they're walking along and Todoroki's like, we should head back to camp straight away. We should leave the rest to Ragdoll who's at the halfway point. And Bakugo's like, shut up, don't tell me what to do. It's at that point that they both notice that there's someone crouched on the pathway a bit ahead of them. Now, it's one of the villains. We've seen this person, but the villain is crouched over a severed hand. There's blood, and the villain's talking about how the flesh is so delicious. It's beautiful, beautiful flesh. And turns to Todoroki and Bakugo and says, please don't tempt me, I've got a job to do. And Bakugo's like, you really expect me not to fight in this situation? Then it cuts back to the main group where all the other students are. Mandalay's fighting Spinner. Mandalay uses her telepath to flirt with Spinner, sort of says like, you know, you're just my type, and it makes Spinner blush and hesitate for a second, and she almost gets an attack in on her, and Spinner calls her a harlot. At that point, Mandalay gets dragged backwards by the same red glow that dragged Pixie Bob off, and she's flying towards Magni, the guy with the long hair. Tiger cuts in, punches Magni and says, like, yeah, like I'd fall for that again. It's at this point that Tiger sort of, he rounds off all the things that Magni's wanted for. He knows his real name. He knows his real name. He knows everything that he's wanted for. So Magni's obviously a well-known villain, a well-known criminal that's been wanted for a while. Tiger throws a flurry of punches at Magni, none of them hitting, and Magni ends up blocking an uppercut. And Magni's like, ooh, so I'm famous then. It's at this point that Mandalay says to Tiger, you know, this is really odd. I've not got any response from Ragdoll. Like, I don't know what she means by this, because it only works one way. Maybe she can tell when her telepath actually reaches someone, and maybe it's not reaching Ragdoll. But it cuts to the table that I'm guessing is the halfway point with all the name tags on and stuff, and it's just covered in blood. It is absolutely soaked in blood. When it cuts back to Midoriya, the villain says that, you know, the sort of stuff that Midoriya is talking about, this is the sort of stuff that somebody who wants to be a hero comes out with all the time. The villain says, you're the one called Midoriya. Great, we were told to seize our initiative and kill you, but, you know, I'm going to make you suffer. I'm going to torment you before I do. The villain dives at Midoriya. His arm is covered in this weird muscle type thing, almost as if his muscles have ruptured through his skin. He's huge. Punches Midoriya, who blocks. He blocks, and you like, for a split second, you think that he's just blocked the blow, but then he goes flying straight into the cliff face, causing a great big huge crater. Obviously, it hurt him. He grunts as he hits the cliff face. His arm's all twisted and messed up, obviously broken. The villain says at this point, by the way, do you happen to know where someone called Bakugo is? And, you know, Midoriya thinks about it, and he's like, oh, why they after Kacchan all of a sudden? The villain jumps at Midoriya and kicks him, saying, can I take that as an I don't know? Am I allowed to sort of beat it out of you now? Jumps at Midoriya saying, you know, let's play. And through the entire thing, he's taunting Midoriya about how Midoriya said, you know, don't worry, Kota, I'm definitely going to save you. He's saying stuff like, you know, how do you expect to save him? Why are you lying on the floor? Why are you running away? Midoriya's lying on the floor, and as he's climbing up, he's thinking about how strong and fast the villain is, how strong and fast his quirk makes him, this weird sort of muscle manipulation that he has. And as the villain jumps at Midoriya again, Midoriya climbs back to his feet, and he throws one of his 5% smashes at the villain. The villain easily blocks it. Like, it doesn't even phase the guy. He blocks it with his arm, and he says, you know, you're pretty fast, but you need to get much stronger. You're so weak. This is where he explains that his quirk does allow him to manipulate his muscles. It can increase his muscle mass and the amount of muscle fibers that he has, so that they eventually break through his skin, and that's how he gets faster and he gets stronger. And he taunts Midoriya for basically being an inferior version of him. I mean, we know that he isn't, but to him it seems like Midoriya is just, you know, you're a simple power-up quirk like me, yet yours is far inferior to mine. He charges at Midoriya, who then jumps away, but he jumps after Midoriya again and kicks him in midair and kicks him to the ground. So at this point, he taunts Midoriya for throwing out fake lip service, for throwing out lies, because he said that he was going to save Kota, and at this point, he's been able to do nothing but run away. The one punch that he's thrown hasn't even been able to hurt the villain. So, you know, he's sort of saying, what can you do? You spouted all this nonsense about being a hero, about definitely saving him. You've been able to do nothing. At this point, a rock hits the back of the villain's head, and Kota's thrown it. And as the villain turns around, Kota says, do you remember Waterhose, the two heroes that you killed? Did you torment the same before you killed them? You know, did you torment my parents the same before you killed them? And the villain can't believe it. He's like, wow, this This must be destiny. It's down to your parents that I have a fake eye. Like, I'm not holding it against them or anything. You know, the fact of the matter was that I just wanted to kill people. Your parents wanted to save people. You know, I was able to do what I wanted to do. Your parents weren't able to do what they wanted to do. The difference is people shouldn't say things that they can't then follow up on. As the villain's saying all this to Kota, Midoriya gets up and jumps at the villain from behind, and he sort of slips his left arm through, I'm guessing, some of the muscle fibres. And Midoriya says, like, good, now no matter how fast you are, you can't get away from me. And the villain's like, why? What does it matter? What are you going to do? Hit me with that puny quirk of yours again. And Midoriya says something along the lines of, it's a hero's job to make the lip service become reality. It's a hero's job to make those promises come true. And as he's powering up his arm to punch the villain realises that something's changed about Midoriya now. You know, he says, something's different about you. Midoriya uses 100% smash, punches the villain, causes a great, big, huge explosion on this weird sort of plateau that they're on in front of the cave that Kota was using as his base. And you see Kota being blasted away by the shockwave, and he's going to fall off the cliff. Midoriya manages to catch him by his teeth. He grabs hold of Kota's t-shirt by his teeth and pulls him back up and says, sorry for blasting you away as well, I didn't mean to. And just as Kota's about to say thank you, Midoriya stands up and turns around, and Kota realises that his arm is completely mangled from the punch that he just threw. As Midoriya stood there explaining that they should head back to camp, the villain just stands up miraculously. Midoriya can't believe it. Kota can't believe it. Midoriya is saying, like, what happened? I was 100%. That's the same power as All Might. How is he standing back up? And the villain's like, that was far too obvious a punch, but not bad, Midoriya. And Midoriya's like, get away. And the villain says, like, no, why would I get away when attacking seems like so much more fun? And Midoriya thinks to himself, you know, I need to buy some time now, and I need to think. And he tries buying time by saying, you know, what do the League of Villains want? Why are they here? And the villain simply says, I don't care. I'm just happy that they've let me off the leash. I just want to go wild with my quirk. That's all I care about. So at this point, you can see that the villain's getting really serious. And he says to Midoriya, you know, up until now we were playing. I said that, didn't I? We were just playing. You were playing with me for a bit. And he jumps at Midoriya and Kota, and Midoriya shouts to Kota to hang on quick and manages to just jump out the way. But it's almost as if the villain's been supercharged. He's gone so much stronger compared to what he was earlier. Midoriya just manages to get out of the way. At this point, Midoriya's crouched on the floor, thinking, again, overthinking everything. How am I going to do this? How am I going to save Kota and defeat this villain? Can I lure him back to camp so Aizawa can erase his quirk? I don't think I'll be able to follow him for that long. Get him to follow me for that long. You know, if I show my back to him now, I'm just going to become easy prey. Can I do this? Can I do this? And then he decides, you know, I have no help. There's no other option. I have to defeat this guy here and now on my own. That's the only path that I have. And he stands up and he says to Kota, when the time's right, when I hit him again, turn and run as fast as you can and get back to base camp. And Kota's like, no, don't be ridiculous. What do you mean when you hit him again? Both your arms are broken. We both need to run now. Midoriya says to Kota, it'll be okay. And Midoriya and the villain clash. It's epic. It is ridiculous. Midoriya throws 100% Detroit Smash. The villain, he's gone absolutely huge. He's buffed himself up that much. He's like just a huge ball of muscle. They both clash, and at first they seem quite equal. Neither's moving. And then the villain really quickly starts getting the upper hand. And Midoriya is bending backwards and backwards, and the villain's bearing down on him and bearing down on him. You know, the villain says, you're nowhere near as strong as you were earlier. Midoriya tells him to shut up. And then Midoriya, pushing as hard as he can, shouts at Kota to run. And no matter what, he'll be okay. Midoriya is not going to let the villain past him, so just run away as fast as he can. And the villain's just loving it. The villain's lapping it up. He's like, oh boy, you're the best. And the villain screams for Midoriya to show him his blood and that he's going to crush him. And as Midoriya he's losing consciousness, he's flat on his back on the floor, being absolutely just completely dominated and crushed into the ground. He has a flashback to when All Might was fighting against Nomu, and All Might says that a hero will always find a way for justice to be served. It will always find a way out of a pinch. And he internally says sorry to his mother. He tried his hardest. I'm really sorry, Mum. And he's sort of calling out to All Might. And just as he's about to lose his consciousness, Kota shoots 2 jets of water at the villain, and the villain's like, what, water? And he realizes that it was Kota, and he's like, oh, just hang on, okay, just give me 2 minutes, I'll kill you once I'm done with this guy. And for that brief second that he was distracted, hearing those words, hearing that the villain was going to kill Kota, Midoriya just goes crazy. He just powers up, starts pushing the villain back, and the villain's like, how are you stronger? And Midoriya's like hell I'd let you kill him. And Midoriya pulls his arm back, powers up 1,000,000% Delaware Detroit smash, and smashes the villain in the face. It's so satisfactory. It's amazing. It's one of the most epic fights I think I've ever seen in an anime. Sends the villain absolutely flying into the cliff front. There's dust everywhere. There's debris everywhere. Obviously, it don't mean 1,000,000%. Obviously, it just means that he's fighting at the pinnacle of his strength, the pinnacle of his ability. He's thrown absolutely everything behind that punch. And he found purchase. He went all the way through the muscle, hit the villain square in the jaw, and sent him flying into the cliff face. Kota's having a flashback again about Mandalay, saying, someone will come along that shows you, that convinces you that heroes are good people, and that what your parents did was right. They saved so many lives by doing what they did. And Kota's crying, and he's saying, you know nothing about the situation. Why are you going so far? And he calls Midoriya his hero. And that's where the episode ends. It was the build-up was amazing in the last episode. And this episode 100% delivered. Like I said, I didn't think anything would ever top the All Might Nomu fight in this series, but it has. It's amazing. I didn't think it would hit the heights that it already has, but it just keeps delivering more and more and more. I cannot wait for next week, because if that's one fight that the students are going to have against the villains, then we're in for a very, very big treat. I have a lot of questions still. You know, like how are the pupils not passing out from the poison gas and the smoke? You know, has Tokoyami lost an arm? What's happened to that group? Is Bakugo going to fight against the villain with the weird brace thing that's holding his lips back and you can only see his teeth? We still haven't seen 3 of the villains. Did they turn up, or did they decide to attack with just 7? Is Aizawa dead? There's far too many unanswered questions, and I seriously cannot wait for next week. It's going to be amazing. The music was amazing this week as well. Like we had new music. I cannot wait for the OST to get released. So much good about this episode that I have absolutely... I have no way that I could not give it a 5 out of 5. I have to give it a 5 out of 5. It was just... It's at the pinnacle of fights in anime. The emotions it stirred. The music was perfect. The voice acting was perfect. The animation was perfect. It was absolutely fantastic. So, that was this week's video. Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, please feel free to subscribe. I also stream on Twitch at least 5 days a week, playing various video games, mainly Hearthstone. And I'm going to be doing other videos, mainly on My Hero Academia, but then maybe throw some other anime and manga in there as well. Thank you very much. I'm Exton. See ya.